Hey everyone, this video is about applying for the federal LCSW position in any state. So I haven't seen a video detailing the process when you apply for the position and what to expect, but I will not be going over the GS11, GS9, GS12 because there have been other videos about that. So I wanted to go over this process because I feel that other people may be searching for the same thing that I was searching for when I applied. So I have some cards. So the first thing is after you apply for the position, so this is mainly towards the LCSW position. And I'm sure if you see this video and you are interested in the video, you already know what that is. It's a licensed clinical social worker. And the first thing you do, you go on USA Jobs and you apply for the position. And when you apply for the position, you will see the salary range, which that's a whole different video to explain the salary range, because you may see maybe 70,000 to 90,000 and you may think, okay, with my experience, I'm gonna get 90,000. That's not how it goes. It has to do with the base pay for each state and the locality rates. So that's a whole different video. So the other one is after you've applied, it may take a few weeks, a few months for you to get a call back if you have been selected for the position. So it depends on the state that you have applied for, because each VA is different. So on the application, they'll show you when the application process is closed. So they'll tell you closing date is August 25. So you know they're not accepting application after that day. So you'll have a gauge that they'll start interviewing soon. But after you send your application, I don't recommend that you contact human resource to say when are they gonna interview me, because they communicate everything through email. The only reason why I would recommend that you reach out to HR is if you have left out like an important part in your resume, or you forget to put something in your resume, you could forward that to HR and they'll show you which HR personnel is responsible for your application at the end of the posting. And they do have I lost my train of thought. So after you've submitted the application, you'll get an email from USA Staffing stating that they've received it, and they'll continue to communicate with you through email. So for example, if you have been selected, meaning that they want to interview you, then they'll send you an email, and afterwards they review your application and someone will reach out to you to let you know to decide your availability to schedule a meeting on Teams. So they only conduct interviews on Teams, which is not a problem. And the interview for certain position, I have interviewed for multiple positions. I have been offered 4, and obviously I only took 1. So for example, the PACT, I believe the PAC, which is a patient aligned care team, that's basically primary care social worker. It's 30 minutes. But if you're doing specialties such as substance abuse, mental health or suicide prevention, I believe those are like an hour. And the interview, it's a performance-based interview, which is a PBI. So they don't ask you question like general interviews that the traditional interview would ask you. They ask you scenario questions, and you could go on YouTube and figure out the best videos where you could look for PBI interviews, because sometimes it can be intimidating. And how I became comfortable with the interview, I applied for different positions in different places, knowing that I didn't want to go there, but just to get a feel of the interview questions, so that when I did find a position that I like, I could be able to maneuver and become confident in the interview. And The other thing I would say is after the interview, you just have to wait. They'll send you an email. USA Jobs will send you an email saying that you have been selected or you haven't been selected, and they'll detail the reasons why. And if you have been selected and they send you a contingent offer, so from my experience, my offer I receive, say for example, if I receive an offer today, I have they'll tell me they'll tell me in the email that I have until the end of the following day to accept or decline. So in previous instances, in a previous instance, I had declined, but there's an option where they ask you to, ask HR to contact you. So I didn't decline and I didn't accept. So I wanted to ask some questions that were not discussed during the interview about, duty station, meaning where you will work, and the different things that were not covered. So HR reached out to me. Unfortunately, I had to decline that position. And sometimes, that just leave for you to accept or deny. And after you've accepted, I'm not sure if this is standard for everyone. Every VA is different. So when I accepted a position, so before I talk about accepting the position, so when I decline a position, the other 3 positions, I normally want to make a good impression because you never know if you have to apply to that VA again. So I normally would reach out to the coordinator who's responsible for the department that did the interview and let he or she know that I received the offer. I won't be accepting it, and this why I won't be accepting it, so that when I declined the offer and HR sees that, when HR reported back to them, they already know, so they're not blindsided, because they'll be saying the interview went good, or after a conversation was good, what happened. So I just wanted to let them know. And I did that one time, and I believe that that helped. Where another time when I applied for a position at a certain VA, and I told the hiring manager I wouldn't take it, and she called me back like 2 weeks, and she was like, we have this other position, do you want it? We could send you an email to interview. And I think that was favorable. So that's a tip. And another one is when you accept, so going back to when you accept the position, someone will call you maybe the following week to do a physical. So in my case, I did a courtesy physical, and I believe a courtesy physical is pretty self-explanatory. If you applied for a VA in another state, obviously if you're in California and apply for VA position in New York, you're not just gonna fly to New York just to do a physical. So they'll ask a VA, which is a veteran hospital close by, maybe in California or a next state over, Nevada or something. They'll ask that VA, they'll request that VA to do the physical for you. Some VA may decline because they don't have the appointment. I did mine they had to ask 3 different VAs that were close by me, and one did mine. I think that's, they're doing a favor, because when I went to do mine at a VA, they were telling me that, some of the questions that were on my form for this particular VA were not on there. So I guess, it's a lot of work for these people to do a courtesy physical. So so the courtesy physical comprises of just blood work. They to do a TB test, and I believe they did some questionnaires about your medical history. They did some other stuff, asked you a lot about your I guess medical history. They did vision testing and a lot of healthcare questionnaires. They wanted your TB test done. They didn't, essentially that's what they did. And I'm looking down here because I have notes, because I'll just ramble all over if I don't. So after you do your physical, so I just wanted to point it out, the process is not for the faint of heart. I love things done rapidly, but it didn't matter to me because I was in a position that I really love. And I was, I wanted to work with the government. That's why I wanted to leave that position. And it's not like I was trying to run away from this position. So it worked out for me. So it took me five months to get in this position. So not saying this is the way for across the board, but I know the VA does have a long hiring process. So it took me 5 months. So just bear in mind, you're not gonna get the offer like a traditional job today and maybe next month you get in. It doesn't work like that. So after the courtesy physical, I did they sent me some forms to do a background check. That was pretty extensive. I had to talk about, and I had to put a lot of references on there. I had to put their name, their address, their telephone numbers, personal information. And they asked for references. And I remember one of my supervisors, she was performing the reference for me. She was completing the reference for me. And she was telling me, oh, I'm just here at home trying to set aside time to complete the reference. And she was telling me it was very long. So if you have the reference to complete, just give it to someone that you know will take the time out to do it, because it's not short. It's pretty long. And sometimes when you do the background check for the background records, it's super long and it's very detailed. And if you miss something, it will just kick it back to you, and you have to you don't have to necessarily start over, but you just have to start over in some phases and complete the incomplete portion. And then someone will call you from the credentialing office from the VA that you will be working at to talk about to send you information to fill out about your license and if you have been disciplined and everything. So that take a couple of time, and I just wanted to backtrack. Mine took such a long time because, as I mentioned before, I didn't mention this. Mine took a long time because I was dealing with the offer and the step, and I think, I wanted to talk to them about, negotiating per se. They don't do much negotiation. And after the credentialing, the background check, that takes a while, you will receive an official offer. So this official offer, remember when I talk about the salary range, they'll tell you your duty station, basically where you're going to be working. It will have your supervisor's name and contact information, and it will also have your pay grade and the steps. So with the VA, they do different steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. So, and they'll tell you the locality is probably, say for example, the locality is $70,000, and I'm sorry, the base pay is $70,000. The locality is 12. So it would be your pay, your yearly pay would be $82,000. So, and that's how they break it down. So in my case, I had to do some of the I wouldn't say negotiate. It is negotiating, but because I was quite surprised with the pay. But and then after you've accepted the pay, then you would let HR know that you do accept. So the process is, for me, like for some people, I just want to let you know, because this is something that I was wondering about. After having done all this process, you can decline the offer when they give you the offer from the first month to the 5th month. You can decline, because I was worried about being blackballed per se if I declined the offer at the end stage, but they did inform me you can decline the offer and it wouldn't affect your chance of applying to the VA or that VA per se. So I just want to put that up because that's something I was terrified about, because I'm like, oh, the government. So you can decline that offer. So I did accept the offer, and they did give me 3 different dates. So their orientations, they do have orientation on Tuesdays at the VA that I work. I'm not sure if it's the same thing for every other VA. So the orientation, and then the dates that they gave me, I chose one of them, but after discussing the salary and going back and forth, I had to change my date. So I don't think changing the date is a problem. It's a problem if that's something you need to do. And just so for people to be aware, and just wanted to let you guys know it's a long process, but it's a fulfilling career to work with veterans and to work with the government if that's something that you want to do. And something important I wanted to point out, because someone asked me this before: if you have a licensed clinical social work license or a LSW in one state, you don't have, because social worker does not have is not able to work in another state without having changed that license. So the reciprocation with social worker is non-existent. But for the VA, if you're working with the VA as a social worker, if you have, say for example, if you have a New York license and you apply for a VA in Florida, you don't have to change your license. So that's the beauty about it. And also what I feel is very important: if you work with the VA and within a year you don't like that location, like you go to Florida, you don't like that location, you can always apply within. And you know how it works when you apply within versus when you are an external applicant. So you could apply within, and you could go back to your home state if they have a position available, or you could go to another state. So, and you don't have to change your license. You just have to make sure you keep your license current and active. So that's the beauty about working with a VA and with the government. You could transfer within, and also you don't have to go to another VA, another veterans hospital, or you could go a different department. You could go a different department within the government if they have a position available and if you qualify. So I guess those are essentially what I would want to know when applying for the social work position within the VA. So if you have any questions, please comment below and I'll try my best to answer those questions. And I made a note, so I think I covered everything that I would want to cover, because these are some of the things I was looking on the internet, YouTube for, and most of them covers, applying for how to apply for a government position on USAA and the GS11, GS9, GS12, and so forth. But I didn't see any that covers this part. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you for watching.